Okay, I'm going. Okay. Hello, everyone. you know, this is obviously NeoMix Live. This is our first show. And from our standpoint, we're just chuckling because obviously this is wholly unique to us. We've never done any live streaming. We've never, well, actually, I guess in a way we have, but as far as doing a format, if you will.
It's not just me looking at my
Yeah,
phone.
completely new thing. So there's just this kind of different aura about it. So we were chuckling right before we came on. But my name's Flux Neo.
I'm Tamara Neo.
What we're hoping to do with this show, just to kind of give a brief overview, is expose folks to not only really in essence our interests, but I think more importantly our region, the things that we're interested in, things that we encounter, and really try to weave, if you will, a story about the fabric of life here. It's something that we've been talking about. It's been kind of a long time coming, getting here. You can imagine there's some technical hurdles. There's kind of the logistics. Our poor daughter, we've appropriated half of her bedroom.
Tamara, go learn video editing,
Yeah,
professional
there you
video
go.
editing.
There's a lot that goes into it. But, like anything, we're parents, we're attorneys, we're, really kind of in the mix of the most important part of our lives as far as raising a family, growing a business, so on and so forth. You can imagine the time, the effort, the energy that goes into adding just something else to the mix.
Just one more thing.
Yeah, it has a certain, can we really
It's an
legitimately
adventure.
do this? So, it's not without some, I guess, hesitancy, just because our goal, I should say, what we're trying to do is every week come out with new content. Every week stream.
Every Friday.
Every Friday stream so that there's kind of an interactive component. But then what we want to do is take the respective segments.
He said.
Tamara will diligently edit the respective segments into something that hopefully should be informative.
You can pick and choose what you like.
If the stream is something that you can't make and you're unavailable to watch it because of circumstance, we will have the individual segments up. And, we're going to do tonight. For example, we're going to be talking about bees.
Mm-hmm. Gardening,
and I've recently gotten into long-range shooting. So we're going to be talking about, obviously, a cross-section of things, and maybe gardening isn't your thing, maybe firearms are. So you'll have the ability to kind of pick and choose if you're unavailable for the live stream. So we want to make this flexible for folks as a platform, but also ensure that people are interested in what we're doing. So we clearly want feedback. What do they say? Is it subscribe,
share? Is this going onto YouTube? Have we figured that one out?
Yeah. Oh, we're simultaneously streaming here. So we're doing.
I think this is the first thing on YouTube too, isn't it? Because I didn't put the ad up on YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube. We're just kind of like wading into it. Facebook, obviously, Tamara's a little bit more familiar with. But we want to work with both platforms. And so we're not trying to pick or choose and say one's better than the other. Because we're new to the process, we necessarily want to experiment with both of them, see where it is that people's interest leads us in this process. But at the end of the day, I think this is going to be something that as we get more proficient and skilled with our ability to present the information, I think the interest and fun will necessarily go up.
I'm having fun right now.
Oh, why?
Because I like learning new things. And so learning the video thing was really fun. It's a very great way to express. I don't talk as much as Flux.
What?
But you'll see. I took my little 3 minutes for my garden and I didn't say a word. I think there's a couple of slides that do, but other than that, it expresses for me why I love my garden and what I love about my garden. And so video editing is just a new way to do that, a new way to express.
Well, yeah, people watch movies, clearly, video. So learning how to effectively communicate through imagery, through video, I think it's a very powerful tool. And I think it's also fun because, while I may feel I'm eloquent, some people might not.
He is eloquent.
If you can believe
Just
that.
a lot of eloquence.
But from Tamara's standpoint, clearly she's going to have some important, detailed information. But a lot of it also is experience, and the I guess the emotion, the sentiment, the vibe, if you will, that you get from, living in a beautiful region, doing wonderful things here.
It's paradise.
And, we want to share that. And clearly we're from a part of Appalachia that we think is just stunning, but we want to have a broad appeal, so that maybe folks who have never spent a day in this region can look in through what we're doing here and realize that they're literally missing out. Quality of life, cost of living, all of that. I think we're really living in kind of a rarefied state of paradise, as Tamara describes. It's a real gem and beautiful experience that we're having here. But we do want to get on to our first point of conversation, which is some days exhilarating, some days deeply emotional and tragic. Some days, though, I'm just mesmerized and excited. And what we're getting into is
our bees. Our bees. I think everybody that has known me from Facebook has kind of watched the last couple of years with us trying to establish a healthy, solid bee colony. And there's been some interesting twists and turns. I think if you scroll back through my feed at least a year or two now, my daughters and I climbed up on top of the local church roof to try and recapture the bees that had run away. And for more than a day or so, I was getting notices. I think I saw your bees here. I think I saw your bees there. So it was kind of like looking for a lost pet. And we did eventually find them. We did eventually bring them back home to the hive, and they still died.
Just not enough of them came back. And to provide some context, we live in the middle of town here in Tazewell, Virginia. And because we're in the middle of town, it's kind of interesting having bees so close to the house. We're not, out in a big pasture or something like that. They're about, 15 feet from the house.
They're in my garden.
Yeah, they're in the garden. They sit under a beautiful apple tree. But when they're that close, your day-to-day life, they're integrated into it. It's funny now, bee lands on you, and it's like, well, it's obviously one of ours, and you don't swat the bee. But because of that, also, you have this intimate experience. You look out, you check in on them. The climate, the rain, the snow.
I regularly see my son out walking the dogs. We've now set a little chair and table just across from it, and he'll sit there and he'll just watch them. Let the dogs just do what they're doing, and he'll just sit and watch the bees. And he's only 12, so I think it speaks to all ages.
Well, it's therapeutic.
Calming.
Yeah, it's therapeutic.
Just calming, their hum. It's just amazing.
Yeah, so. Visually too. But we want to get into kind of a brief overview.
The last year that we've had.
The last year, and we'll have some commentary along the way. If you ever notice that I'm like looking off screen, it's because I've got to deal with the administrative side of moving through video. But nonetheless, bear with me.
Oh, look, I can see all the comments. Hey, yeah, hello to everybody. I'm glad. Oh, and I got to stop doing that. Look at how big that hand is. Look at when I put it there. Monster hands. I'm going to put them down here so they stay nice and small and petite. So, okay. So what you're seeing now
No,
is...
they're not seeing
they're
it
not
yet.
Seeing it
You're
yet?
going to lay a foundation.
Okay, I'm laying a foundation. So we went through at least 2 rounds of bees before this one, or this is our second round that you're about to see?
No, this is our third.
This is our third round.
Yeah.
And just so you know, we're on our 4th right now, so you can kind of see where we're going with this.
Yeah,
but
it's
this
been
was
intense.
The first image that you're going to see was our bees in January of 2021. So go ahead and put it up. That's our little corner that we keep them in. It's my neighbor's brick there, and he's got a lovely apple tree just beyond that. Quiet January morning, snow, and at this point we weren't sure, are they going to make it through the winter? So
And one of the technical things, you're looking at a techno set.
yeah, this isn't the traditional
Beehive.
wooden
This is
box.
not wood. This is a Greek manufacturer. They use food grade plastic, but it's double layered, so it's got wonderful insulation. You can pick all kinds of fun and interesting colors. We went with the blue and white. It kind of works with some of the themes around our house.
It's peaceful.
But if you want yellow, purple, orange, they're very cool. But because of our climate here, where there's a lot of moisture and the like, I felt that from a maintenance standpoint, it would be easier to go ahead and work with the TechnoSet system. Wonderful to work with. Very predictable. You know, I don't have to paint it each year.
Yeah.
This is in the middle of the winter.
January.
Just checking in. They're there. They're active. They're alive. What the
They
bees
don't come out,
do.
obviously.
Yeah, what the bees do in the cold is they clump around the queen. So they completely encircle her. They go out and still tend to business, if you will, throughout the hive. But they do go ahead and clump to ensure that the queen stays alive, because it's everything. It's seminal for them to ensure her integrity.
So at this point, we're thinking, okay, our bees made it to winter. Are they going to make it through winter? So the next shot, this is a warm February day. And as everyone in this region knows, sometimes those February days start to feel like spring's coming early. So this was a gorgeous day. And the bees were out and busy and vivid and just,
Well,
look at them. They're out.
What was so exciting?
They made it.
This was our first winter where
They actually survived all the way
the
through.
bees made it through the winter. So this
We're
was
high-fiving. We're
huge
like, and we've
achievement.
got this now.
huge achievement that our bees made it through the winter. But you can also see, and I think you get a sense, how mesmerizing it is to watch them. They actually get these flight patterns going. So you can watch wherever they're looking for nectar and they're scouting. It's almost like aerial highways where you can watch them coming and going from a certain direction. But again, as Tamara said, this was a warm day. It was a great opportunity to just watch them, to be excited. But we all know that there was a cold snap after this.
I'm not convinced of that. I don't remember it getting that cold between this image and the next image.
So,
But bottom line is, go ahead and put the next image up.
well, this is the thing. Or we may have lost the queen, and this is just the bees moving along. So we
possible.
don't know exactly why things changed, but they
So
did.
then on March 17th, this is
Yes,
what we found.
this is depressing by any measure, because I'm realizing there's no activity. I checked, I couldn't hear anything.
This one has sound to it, so
Oh, it does.
yeah. So we're just gonna let it play.
There are still bees, obviously.
Yeah.
If it isn't clear, those are a bunch of dead bees.
Show me again. Yeah.
So what
Obviously vacant. Yep.
what I'm trying to do is kind of assess and discern what is going on. Obviously, to go from this,
On February 24th
and then
to the carnage of St. Patrick's Day, March 17th.
yeah,
Not very long.
not fun, very sad, but we are committed,
We don't
to
give
say
up.
the least.
We don't ever give up on something.
So we actually go to a place out in Kentucky, Kelly Bees. They've recently been acquired, and I forget who acquired them again, but they have beautiful facilities. It's actually very cool, very fun. But I've been there before to get what's called a Nook, and that's what we're going to be discussing, or you're going to see next. This is me returning from Kentucky.
Production by Tamara Neo.
Yes. What that is 5 frames inside a kind of mini hive.
So what are you doing here?
Just getting everything prepped, that taking the super and getting some of the wax that had fused the individual frames to the side of the super, getting that scraped off, and just prepping. I'm an eternal optimist when it comes to the bees.
And a little bit of the neat freak, even for the poor bees. No, I'm sure that they benefit from it.
Yeah, well, other bees have been in here, so I want them to be able to kind of make it their own and cleaning up and getting it ready. But at a minimum, this is, as you can see, how easy it is to work with the Technoset gear. It's very clean, quick to clean up, quick to get ready. I'm putting in a few frames because, like I said, the actual Nook comes with 5 frames, and I want to be able to insert those in.
Okay, so now that's the bee box that we brought home with us.
The Nook, yeah.
Yeah. Watch this. This is funny. It's funny when you're recording things, you don't remember them, and then when you're sitting in front of the editing screen, you catch all sorts of little things, and you're like, "Well, that was really funny." I don't remember it that way, but it's funny now.
Yeah, there's some agitated bees here.
Can you say crap on YouTube?
I think you just did.
No, you just did. So that's just covered in bees as you're putting it in,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah, and when you pull them out of the Nook, if you put them, or whatever order they're in the Nook, you put them in that same order inside the hive body there.
And to report, are we back up yet?
Yeah.
There we go. I'm happy to report we still have happy, healthy bees, and we're looking forward to seeing honey. Now, we did get honey from the last group because they were gone and didn't need it.
Wasn't much of a fight. Pretty easy to rob all the honey out. Now, that is a good point. The honey, it's like effervescent.
It
when
has
you
multiple stages.
Yeah.
You taste it, and then you taste another little pop of flavor comes in your mouth. It's amazing. Unlike any honey I ever bought.
They talk about the medicinal benefits that, by taking it, if you have allergies, things of that nature, you're basically getting a taste of your community. So it helps you with your immune system, things of that nature. So there's a lot of kind of good benefits from eating a little local honey. But clearly the experience, I think, is what's most satisfying. Now, I can say we have more honey than we know what to do with. But
So
I think will be
market it and put it out as Neo Bee honey.
I think that is kind of going to be one of the next adventures is what do we do with all this honey? But we're talking just a hive. Imagine you put 2-3 out. You literally will have a ton of honey. I think anybody who's ever bought it knows how expensive it is. And mind you, there is a little bit of an investment in getting started with bees.
Like 3 rounds of bees purchased.
How many hive bodies, how many supers have we had to buy?
True, just one.
Just
Great
one.
equipment.
You know,
Great
so if you
equipment.
buy quality equipment, you've got it to experiment with through the ups and downs. But nonetheless, great experience. And something that I would highly recommend. We talked about doing it for years. Once we got into it, though, hooked. Completely hooked. It'll be something that'll be a long-term experience. My kids have seen it, and hopefully it's piqued their interest
We have
just as well.
a little bee suit for our son, our youngest, and he loves going out.
He
there
goes
with
out,
bees.
and there's no fear associated with it. Once you have the experience, it's something that is just a part of you. So, highly recommend the bees. I really don't know. Really, I think our experience, our joy has really increased through the experience.
The other thing is associating with other beekeepers.
Oh, yeah.
We, all of our failures, I've got 2 or 3 people that I call and say, okay, what did we do wrong now? What goes next? What happens? And it's a nice little community of people. People freely share information and tips, and we'll come over and check out your hive body and see if they can figure out what's going on. So it's really kind of a fun little group of friends.
Great way to participate in your community is the point. So, well, I think we're good with the bees. I know you wanted to talk about gardening.
I do. I don't think I really need to talk very much. So
you had a big fancy video for this one.
I have a big fancy video. And let me tell you, 3 hours ago, I didn't have any video. I'm like, we're doing 2 segments because I'm not ready. I've spent all my time on everything else, and my segment's not ready. And I decided, well, there's a little window of time. Let me see if I can pull something off. Threw some pictures together, found some music that I liked, and so that's what we've got. I'll talk a little bit through it, but for the most part, and this is the sappiest thing you're going to see, and his eyes will be rolling the whole time.
But you'll be watching the video, so you won't see that. But regardless, this just as an anecdote, Tamara's experience with video editing just a month and a half ago, 0.
Yeah.
So it gives you a sense that a
month
lot
and a
of
half
this
ago, that sounds like a lot. I think this is like number 4 or number 5 piece. Again with the hands. I gotta learn to pull them back.
What I will say though is we will do a video on the equipment that we're using for this. This isn't anything proprietary. My whole view is that more people should be doing this because we have a great community. We have a lot of different voices here, a lot of different perspectives. We're just a part of it. We're definitely not trying to be spokespeople, if you will, for anything about our community. But I think when we get to a point where we have, I guess, other segments, I'll go into a deep dive into the equipment so folks can see what we're using and kind of pick and choose. You don't have to do something as extensive as probably what we're working with right now, but you can take it piecemeal and incrementally build up to be able to do this. But we will focus on that coming up in future segments. But right now, Tamara wanted to focus on the gardening. Now, I will say this. We put in a garden at the beginning of the whole coronavirus experience is the only way I can term it.
Technically, the video that you're seeing is my 2020 garden because my 2021 is still coming to fruition at the moment.
But we had...
In fact, if there was a pot, a planter, anything, none of us knew what was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I put a vegetable plant, in every pot I own. Period. Whether it was one that got another pot pulled out of it and was just left over, or it was a big fancy one. I grew tomatillos. I grew tons of tomatoes. I grew beans. I grew
peppers,
chilies, cauliflower, broccoli, Gosh, there were so many.
We didn't know what was going to happen in the world.
I knew we'd be eating.
So we were like, I don't know. We tilled up a section of the lawn.
A big section, because I had
Yeah.
a little garden before, and then I'm like, nope, we're putting in a big garden. So basically the whole side yard is now a garden. And had things been still as crazy, I would have been digging up the backyard. I already had plans for it.
Main point being is that we were not avid vegetable gardeners or anything of that nature. We jumped into it. Now, we live in a community that is wonderful for it.
Yeah.
Folks love their gardens. They put a lot of time into it. It's amazing. You know, farmers markets, everything. It's a great feature in our community. But we ourselves hadn't really, you know, given much consideration.
I've always
you know.
dabbled with tomatoes.
Yeah, and it's one thing to, you know, keep a garden, so on and so forth, but dedicated gardening where you actually have to go check on your cucumbers before they turn into these football-sized things.
And some of them still do.
Yeah, you know,
And
little
then they
details.
give me gifts the next year. The next year there's a little cucumber plant where I didn't plant one, but I left one to sort of rot.
So what you're going to see is a little video that Tamara put together to kind of just walk through what that experience has been. It's something that I know we're going to keep up, and I actually encourage folks. I learned how to can. I did sauerkraut. Never done sauerkraut before, but I have sauerkraut that I made from cabbage exclusively from our garden. So doesn't take too much, but it definitely was something that was its own little learning curve. Completely rewarding. I used to buy mounds of sauerkraut, and if you're not a sauerkraut fan, you can ferment other things. I am, but it was just amazing to go, literally, that's from my garden, chopped it up, made it, and it's delicious. So
I don't like sauerkraut.
it's wonderful.
Let's talk.
But we'll go on to Tamara's lovely, lovely video here.
So obviously the garden is a very personal thing to me. When I'm stressed out, that's where I go. I walk, I pull weeds, I smell flowers. I'll spend hours out there if I'm left alone and left to my own devices. So that's kind of what this is.
Well, let's get to it. Oh gosh. There you go. Let's call it an official technical
Well, you know what
difficulty.
that's a quick sneak peek coming your way.
Yeah, we're gonna get to there. Lord,
There
let's
you
see.
go. Hit the play.
No, I've got to hit the video. So this is the joys of
Figure
do it
this-
yourself.
Oh, there we go. We're back to bees.
Okay,
In the
I can
snow.
hammer through the bees. Ta-da! There we
There you
go. Okay, back to.
I'm not hearing the sound.
I keep it low.
I'd like to hear a little bit of it.
There you
Okay.
go. It's there. I just don't want a feedback loop for folks. So I'll be quiet. You might hear
A
my
little
eyes
bit more.
rolling.
It doesn't get very loud. A little bit more, so I can hear it. That's fine. That's my little Zen moment.
Very, very cute. Now,
And full disclosure, my family will help me once a year. And the rest of the year, I have two wonderful helpers, Miss Jessica Hazlett and her daughter, who come out and help me do whatever crazy thing I have in mind. So,
Well-
but they do help, and they help me when it's time to gather everything in and whatnot. So that's my garden.
purely anecdotal. It's a lovely garden. It's rewarding every year. But this is a little bit of background as to why it is that gardening here is so amazing. I grew up in Arizona and Southern California. One area, nothing grew. We had what you call cactus gardens. The other, there was nothing but concrete, so there was
far as you can
nowhere
see.
to grow. Your childhood, Los Angeles and
In Southern Colorado.
Southern Colorado, which
Southern
is high
Colorado
desert.
is certainly better than Arizona and then Los Angeles, but it was
Not
still
really,
very.
but in the sense of
Yeah, really
know.
it is. So, but it's still a very dry climate, and getting things to grow was challenging compared to how it is here. You put something in the ground here, it's gonna grow. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
it's staggering, and it's something that now we're literally reliant on it. It almost makes experimenting in the garden this fun thing because nothing's going to die if you don't like it.
Well,
You
some
can.
things do.
Well, I know, but
I can't get
generally,
lavender to grow to save my life.
but if something's not doing well on one side of the house, we dig a spot, move it to the other. It's that kind of an experience. So having the opportunity to garden, a lot of folks put their time and energy into it, and so it's this lovely experience that I know. I think really you always had the interest.
But we didn't have the space and the time.
Correct.
I mean, our time is tight now, but earlier on, I was in an elected office and had babies, and you were finishing law school, and it was all just too much to create a garden.
Too much, and I think also having really the quality of soil that would make it worthwhile.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to put the time in, do you really want that time spent on something where the odds of it surviving are pretty limited? And I think that's where being here has made it somewhat
Yeah,
special.
we found this house, and this
Yeah.
house already had some beautiful established gardens, and we just made them my own, and took out what I didn't like and added what I did like, and watched things. That one pink rose plant is right next to a red rose plant, several of them, and I planted them all at the same time about 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, and they were all the same height. 2 little red ones, 2 little pink ones. Okay, so the pink ones now you can see they're enormous, and the red ones are still these little red ones, and I don't know what the difference is, but it made for interesting height and difference and color difference. And those pink ones, when they're in bloom, they're gorgeous.
I
They're
think
gorgeous.
one of the fun parts is also it's highly economical. You wait at Lowe's or
Oh yeah,
Home Depot or Walmart
50% off.
Yeah, 50% off, and just throw it in the ground.
Yeah, and they'll come back next
It'll
year.
come back next year. So I think one of the fun things and what we'll be looking to do moving forward, I talked about the sauerkraut and the fact that we actually pulled cabbage from our own garden, chopped it up, salted it, fermented it, and did the whole 9 yards.
We should do a show on that.
Yeah, exactly. So I think the fun part of the garden is that it sets up the opportunity to kind of show some other layers to gardening and kind of the benefits, not just the amazingly fresh food, delicious food you get, but some of the other fun that you can have with it. But gardening, I think it's good for the soul. Is the easiest way of putting it.
Truly. Okay, tell me about your long-range shooting.
So I'm into firearms generally.
Understatement.
And but let's put it this way. I didn't grow up with a hunting background. I didn't grow up with somebody teaching me about firearms. Everything that I've learned has really been just, interest and inquiry. Watch videos, read magazines, watch reviews, listen to people who have practical experience. But what I started to find over time in firearms is that my particular interests relative to people who could offer some feedback about it started to narrow and narrow and narrow. In one of the areas that it got extremely narrow was in long range shooting. It's a very kind of interesting subset of firearms. You're talking about bolt action firearms, you're talking about very high powered scopes. And then there's kind of accessories, if you will, that you wouldn't necessarily expect requiring that I learned about. So what I was hoping is that by talking about my experience with learning firearms, my experience with kind of getting exposed to hunting culture, the outdoor side of it, the clothing that's involved, the particular equipment, the types of ammunition, all of these things, I'm coming at it not from somebody that's an expert in anything, just somebody that's taken the time to learn and made the investments. And what my goal is through what we're doing with NeoMix, we all have limited time. We all have limited resources. Isn't it nice to hear from somebody who's kind of put their money where their mouth is, if you will, and made the investments? And I can bring back then my personal practical experience so that maybe the learning curve for others is cut down. And they're able to say, look, I want to do this. I want to do it effectively. I don't need to know about everything. I just need to know what will take me from A to B as quickly as possible. So where I went with long range shooting, didn't have any experience with it. Just wanted to do it. And so I had to get a firearm. I had to get a scope and some additional accessories. But the one thing, and I will give credit where credit is due, you need training. So I'll talk about the kind of equipment side.
You had a boys' weekend.
Yeah, the equipment side, but
really cool one.
I need to give credit to the guys at Bang Steel. They are a bunch of good guys out of Wythe County, and they also, I guess, are in Bland and Wythe County here in Virginia. But they work with people all over the country who come in and want to get practical training doing firearms or long range shooting. So they go over safety, they go over technique, and they just kind of hands-on put you out where you need to be and work you through not just your own firearm, but some various techniques and skill building that is wonderful. And beauty for me is that they're just a county over. That, again, to have a national outfit who works with people all over the country just next door, huge, wonderful resource. So I kind of lucked into that. But what I think is most important and what I want to cover is the equipment side. What my goal was in getting this equipment was to be able to shoot over 1,000 yards, okay, which for a lot of folks may not mean anything. I think for long range shooting, the ability to consistently shoot over 1,000 yards is wonderful. I don't have experience doing it. So what my strategy was to say, okay, what's the equipment that will take me from no experience to consistently shooting out over 1,000 yards as quickly as possible? What kind of round you're using is important, but clearly the platform matters. So what I ended up deciding on, and I can tell you, one weekend with the guys at Bang Steel, I was out over 1,000 yards consistently. So if that matters to you, to go from no experience to 1,000 yards right out, here's the platform that I use that I can tell you, in fact, works. We're looking at what is called the Mossberg MVP Precision. The round is a 6.5 Creedmoor. Now, Mossberg came out with this in about 2018. You can go and look at reviews on it yourself from folks who this is their business, is to personally put this equipment through its paces. You will see consistent feedback. Nice part additionally is that because of what Mossberg has done, they've coordinated with some other companies to ensure, like specifically Magpul, that you've got excellent kind of options for working with this. It does take Magpul furniture. It does come with a 10-round Magpul or PMag magazine. It also has an adjustable stock, both for height and length. And this just comes stock. So when you buy the Mossberg MVP Precision Rifle, I got it obviously chambered in a 6.5 Creedmoor, which is a wonderful round for long range shooting. It accepts all M-LOK accessories. This is just out of the box. So I didn't have to worry about a lot of things just by simply making the investment in this platform. It does have the Picatinny rail across the top. And for somebody that's not, in a position where I can be the technical master of all, the ability to go ahead and get a great firearm out the box without worrying as to the quality, the performance, and the like is hugely, hugely important. So this became the platform working with. Now I can tell you in actually using it, the trigger is adjustable. For a lot of folks that's important, but the feel, it has a good weight to it. So when you're shooting at long range and you want a stable platform, I put a bipod on it, and you can work with Harris bipods. That's the nice part about the M-LOK system, is you can put whatever accessories you want on it. But they give you such a great platform to work with at the outset. It doesn't take too much more to put you in a position where you can take this platform and reach out past 1,000 yards consistently, which again for me is amazing. Now clearly anytime you're dealing with long range shooting, being able to see the target is fundamental. My decision as far as the scope, I went with something called a March FX Tactical. It's a 5-40 by 56 millimeter scope. It's a front focal plane scope. I also wanted it illuminated. We live in an area where there are trees and things that may darken the objective, and so the ability to be able to illuminate it was an important consideration. March is kind of an interesting company. You're not going to see a lot of their product out there. They're Japanese build. All components are from Japan. They're hand assembled. The glass clarity is surreal. It's amazing. A lot of light is let in, and for somebody that doesn't have a lot of time to ensure that they're able to really just kind of build a lot of inborn skill, having wonderful optics it helps close the gap between limited training and experience and being able to hit targets very, very quickly. If you look into March, dozens of world national records have been set with March scopes. You're not talking about something that's insignificant resource to you. You will spend a little bit, but it's for life. You have a wonderful tool that, this year, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you'll be able to consistently shoot with it. What that looks like, just to give you a sense, when you're dealing with the March scopes, it does zero out. As you can see, the 5x to 40x magnification is phenomenal. But the ability to have it illuminated and have a robust platform that once you put it on your rifle, you'll know with certainty that you're going to be looking at targets, being able to adjust for wind and hit them is phenomenal. It's phenomenal. Now, moving on briefly, the other feature, anytime you're dealing with long-range shooting, is dealing with recoil. I focused in on one company because a lot of professional long-range shooters, people who do competitions, like their product. I just kind of went with where a lot of the top precision shooters go, and that is with American Precision Arms. They have their new Generation 3 Little Bastard. That's their name for it, not mine. But to give you a sense, when I was out with the guys at Bang Steel, we had blast shields to help manage the, literally blast from the rifles. But the folks beside me did not like it when I was shooting because the American Precision Arms are very, very effective. It takes a lot of the shock out of your shot. So, especially with long range shooting, that's going to be important because you want to be able to get back on your target quickly in case you miss or you need to make adjustments. When you have very little recoil, it allows you to do that much more quickly. Now, what's kind of interesting about this specific muzzle brake, you can see you can actually remove little Allen wrench bolts to counter if you have on a given platform spin to the left, spin to the right, and you simply remove the screws off of one side and you can actually help manage your trajectory. So if you remove the screws on the right side, the rifle will shift to the left as far as where the round ends up. And so it gives you this ability to really kind of manage things, which is important at long range. So this is what we ended up looking at for the muzzle brakes. I decided with it on my platform, and it works. It just gets you there, and to be able to have the trigger pull be very adjustable and light, and then ensure that the recoil is mitigated, hugely important, and it made a big difference for me as far as what it is that I was doing. Now, moving on, that's the base of the platform. Obviously I have a mount for the scope. It is a single piece mount because I don't want as many variables affecting the shot. You have to be able to see, and you have to have input though if you're off. It's sometimes tough to get back on target, and so you need to have somebody assisting you when you're shooting at long range. So spotting scopes become a consideration. It wasn't something that I gave a lot of thought to at the beginning, but you're going out looking for targets at long distance, having the assistance of someone working with you, hugely important. So spotting scopes become just an invaluable resource. In my opinion, it's probably pretty essential to ensuring that your skills get built up. What I looked at and went with was a Vortex. This is their, it's actually what you would call a Vortex HD. That is their 27 to 60 by 85 angled spotting scope. It is staggering to look through this thing. Not having ever dealt with spotting scopes before, picking some well-known sites around our community and being able to see things that literally in your wildest imagination you wouldn't have expected to be able to see with such clarity. That's what they've been able to do at Vortex with their Razor HDs. Now, if you're doing spotting though, remember you have reticles. You have to be able to, whether it be an MOA or an MDOT or a mil setting, you need a reticle that will go with it. And so Razor does reticles specifically for MOA or mil targeting or MRAD. And you can purchase that and add it to the Razor HD spotting scope so that you have a reticle to be able to observe and make recommendations to whomever's shooting to ensure that they're able to get back on target. From my standpoint, it is a great way to learn how to shoot when you're able to see other people's targets, learn how it is that rounds move down downfield, and ensure that you're able to be consistent. Wonderful tool, highly recommended. I think it's pretty essential. Now, the last thing, and this was something that I didn't think about. I went out, started shooting. Thank goodness other people had it. But when you're shooting at long range, you need to know how far away the target is. Different rounds have different ranges, different velocities, and there are charts that actually get made based on the specific ammunition you're shooting with the specific rifle that you're using. I didn't give any thought that, okay, great, there's a target, great optics, I can see it. How far away is it? they told me how far away it was, but in real world situations, if you're looking at deer, what do you guesstimate? I don't know. I'm pretty good, but that's not going to be sufficient when you're dealing with precision shooting. So the ability to be able to look and know just how far a target is huge. Nice part, the folks that gave you the Razor HD also give you the Razor HD 4000 rangefinder. And the whole package that you're dealing with here on this Vortex, completely mind-blowing. The technology, they have it now in 3 modes with this device. If you have a deer, for example, and it's moving between trees and the like, you can actually set it in what's called a deer mode, and you can have it track and follow the various distances in case a target's coming closer, moving further away. You can, in essence, monitor a moving target. There's also a tree mode where you're able to, they have the term normal mode scan and what they call ELR mode, which is their extreme long range mode. But with each of these respective settings, it can distinguish deer, tree, and then if you are working with targets where there's some sort of reflection, you can go out even further. If you're in normal mode, though, just to give you a sense, it'll go out 2,400 yards. I have a wonderful loopholed rangefinder, goes out 500 yards. For my 30-06, I thought that was great. I'm like, this is perfect. I gave no consideration that I needed a rangefinder that would actually go out as far as I needed when I'm trying to look at 1,000 yard plus shots. So having an actual rangefinder that will work with long range shooting, that is effective, is compact, and is just shockingly powerful is essential. But between the rangefinder, the scope, the spotting scope, that is, and then the platform that I set up, that's it. I have now a resource for life. I can build skills from it. Hugely powerful. And I will tell you, the excitement, there were so many times when I was with the guys at Bang Steel where I just would look over and I was like, this is so cool. There's like the joy of just being like, because they have targets that go out a mile. But to be a newbie and hitting a 1,500 yard shot after maybe just 2 or 3 rounds of adjustment, phenomenal. Such an exhilarating experience. Those guys do a great job, but then having great equipment to back it up, it's a wonderful experience. It's something that I'm excited about, and I've already contacted them because I want all my kids to go out there. I trust them. They do a great job, and so I have no problem with my family even working with them. I've not told them yet.
One of them just heard.
but I know the platform's great that I've set up, but I think their experience will be wonderful, and I'll report back when they get a chance to go out and shoot. Again, these are
film of that.
Yeah, we'll get some film of it and the like, but I'm absolutely confident from my 12-year-old son to my 15-year-old, 17-year-old daughters, they'll be hitting 1,000-yard shots. I feel absolutely confident before a weekend's done with those guys. But it just goes to show you, if you get the right equipment and you're effective about making the right purchases, you can go from nothing to just amazing shots.
Very good.
Very quickly. Very cool. Very fun. But regardless, just
I've got a
so
number
that
for
it's sure. But I do want it up while you're asking me. Is the equipment list so that if anybody wanted to pause a video and have a quick reference point as to what it is that I'm working with, that I can literally say I use and believe in, there it is. But regardless,
3,871.
what?
3,871 yards. That's the world's record currently for long-range shooting.
Well, and it might be with a March scope, honestly.
It probably is.
It'd be interesting to see.
It was a Canadian Special Forces operator in Iraq at the time.
So,
and he wasn't shooting a deer.
Yeah. As someone just on a weekend, I was not quite halfway there. But
First time out.
yeah,
too.
first time
First
out.
time on the
So,
equipment,
and I'm
yeah.
not saying that guys that are doing these world-class shots, it's a lifestyle for them. But to just have Joe Schmo pick up a rifle and be able to consistently shoot out past 1,000 yards, wonderful. So, but either way, I think with that, it brings
we
us
may
to the
actually
close
have
of
done our very first
our
show.
first show. Clearly, getting feedback is
Yeah.
hugely important. If
What do you
you're
want to
like,
know about? What do you want to hear about? We'll come up with things because our life always sort of rolls us into the next adventure. But if there's something you think you want to know more about, let us know.
yeah, things that you want us to talk about, or if there are other things. If you're like, Flux, dude, be quiet.
Take the purple off.
Find a new shirt, something. Shave your beard. I don't know. I don't mind that.
No, we're not shaving the beard.
No, I'm just
Not
saying.
beard.
I'm just saying from a input standpoint, don't be shy. Don't be shy. Now, if you want to be a butthead, that's a different story. I'm not a small guy. I know how to handle myself. Let's put it that way.
He's a good long range
Yeah,
shooter.
don't want to be too mouthy with a guy like me. But regardless, I like the criticism because it shows that you're interested. You want us to do a good job. We want the input. I know Tamra.
Okay, so what are we supposed to say? Also, like and
Yeah,
subscribe.
like,
There's a
subscribe.
YouTube page,
What else?
neomix.live on
Yes,
YouTube. Like.
true.
Okay, we got somebody going like this at us.
Oh, comment. Yes,
Oh,
there's our daughter
comment.
saying comment so that we know. And also the fun part is that the comments help inform us about what we can improve upon and ideas. That's what a lot of this is about. We have a wonderful community here where there's a lot going on at a lot of different levels. And I think really what the goal is to expose not just our community so that there's excitement and pride here locally, but folks who haven't even heard of us, who realize, wow, if these folks are doing this up in the mountains, I want to check it out. And I think that's really wonderful when we know that we can be a resource to help other people find the beauty, the quality of life, the experience that we're having,
Paradise.
and share it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
well, with that, I think we're going to check out for today.
Yeah. Go Team Neo.
Go Team Neo. There you go. We'll get it done.
All right. See y'all later.
Have a good night.
Bye.